Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdsson, World Alternative Media here, and of course I'm joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen. Now, we know in life that people are impatient. We often see very impatient people write to us about silver and gold and say, well, silver and gold isn't any good because, the price went down for this couple week period here, but they don't understand the long-term implications of what silver and gold does as it fluctuates, especially silver. Silver fluctuates wildly at times. So John, can you go into some of the concerns that people have here? And
Well, what has happened just lately is that the gold price and silver price has dropped down, not substantially a lot. Like it's not down at the lows of 1,050 that it was like way back. It's way higher. It's just a little bit of a natural pullback because of investors are selling maybe something when it gets lower. Some people panic, but this is so important that the reason why it's been pulling back is because everybody believes that the Federal Reserve will hike interest rates again.
Yeah.
And when it comes to hiking interest rate on our debt, especially with the Federal Reserve, like the Fed has a lot of money that it borrows out to the United States in United States debt. Well, problem is if you raise the interest rates on debt that you already can't really pay with the United States government.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to do? Are you just going to keep on raising interest rates and believe that, everything will be fine? No, that will bankrupt countries like the United States, Japan, the Eurozone. Everybody would get bankrupt because now they can't pay the massive amounts of debt that they racked up. Even just the interest, they can't even pay that. That's how bad it's become. So that just shows you that people believe that for some reason that they're gonna, jack up prices. But of course, it's also as our friend Rob Kirby has said, there's probably people from, of course, the Treasury where the ESF, the Exchange Stabilization Fund, in there and trying to push the price down because they're desperate of keeping that price down. Because if it starts to really go up very rapidly, and it actually went up quite a bit there, about 20-something%. So people started to kind of really move faster and faster into it, and even some of the big names, put their money into gold, which is mostly paper ETFs. And actually, currently, what's happening is there's a massive amounts of people piling into ETFs. It's an article from mining.com. Mining.com is one of the biggest news sources for everything that's happening in the mining sector and so on. But people are piling into ETFs, and actually this is information from the World Gold Council, which looks at global moves of gold. And they actually said that a lot of people are not piling into gold. That shows that there might be some limited supply somewhere, because now suddenly people are just piling into ETFs, and that's just paper gold. That's not even real gold. And that should maybe give us a little bit of a warning sign that something like that is happening, because it might actually not be like they say, it's because the Fed is going to hike interest rate that the price are low. They're trying to keep the price down, but as the price are getting kept down low, actually people are more and more willing to buy gold. I would buy silver when it's lower. I'm going to probably buy some more gold and silver.
Any investor would know that that's the time to buy. When it's down, that's when you buy.
The thing is, don't buy the paper gold. You might, if you're very smart and you're an investor that could do your due diligence on different businesses, probably you could put some money, of course, into mining stocks and so on. But this is, of course, our opinion again. We don't want to give you financial advice. Not that we're stupid or anything, but
under the law,
we're not allowed by the securities here in Canada to give you.
We tell you the truth, we might get tracked down by police and have our door broken down. That's the way the government operates. But I mean, this is something that I wanted to bring up, is that, we've been talking to a lot of experts over the past year, and I mean, we've talked to people who are pretty damn convinced that there is a manipulated, corrected bull market on gold and silver that the government's basically, and the central banks are covering up. And we've seen Deutsche Bank, we've seen Scotia Bank, we've seen all these big banks get caught red-handed in this. And this is what I want to bring up when people have these concerns about gold prices and silver prices fluctuating gently, I should put, going down a little bit. why are people so concerned about that, but people aren't concerned about the fact that our legal tender, our currency, is manipulated daily and creates debt out of the thin air that it's printed from? And it's just based on faith, it's based on nothing, and people aren't concerned about that. They're concerned about, oh, well, gold and silver went down a slight little notch. That's what happens when you manipulate things.
Yeah, and also, like, gold and silver should not be your, like, the thing that you want to really day trade. You know, like, it's not really for day trading.
No, it's for insurance.
What the banks, this is what the banks are speculating on, and that's how they create, you know, the futures market, which is like extremely leveraged. So I don't know the exact leverage they have right now.
Yeah.
But last time I looked, it was 542 contracts per physical metal, which just shows you the insanity. And that's actually the way they base the price on right now, which is the 1250. But most importantly, guys, don't care about the price. I don't care about the price whatsoever. What I look at is I just look at gold and silver as wealth insurance.
Preserved value, long-term insurance. Yeah.
It's one of the ways you actually preserve your wealth. Now, a lot of people say, like, well, what about food and all this? Well, of course you got to have your food and all that stuff, but it's the wealth. Like, it's actually your wealth, your saved up wealth. That is the gold and silver plays the part of insurance. Now, of course, you got to have food and everything. So, like, I'm not saying that you should buy massive amounts of gold and silver.
Yeah, it's not for investment. It's like, oh, maybe next week I could sell and make a whole bunch of money. No, it's not about that. If you want that, maybe look into real estate and stuff like that. But I mean, this is something that I wanted to bring up too, because you mentioned, well, yeah, you can't eat gold and silver, and we always, when we miss a report, when we forget to say that point in a report, we get hounded by people in the comments. And it's not like we're too stupid to realize that, yeah, you can't eat gold, you can't eat silver. Of course, you're going to want to be independent. That's the main point. Independent when it comes to your sound money, not currency, not paper fiat bullshit. You want to have insurance, and you want to be able to be independent enough to be able to grow your own, to be able to have shelter, to be able to take care of your family. And this is just one part of taking care of your family in the event of an economic crash, because yes, you can't eat gold and silver. That is a no-brainer. Sorry, people.
Yeah, of course. And look at Venezuela right now, guys. You have to look at what's happening in Venezuela and do a lot of research as much as you can on Venezuela, because that is, of course, we've seen history, so we know what's coming. But we please, like, do a lot of research what's going on in Venezuela and how they actually built up to that, because that's what we're doing now with massive socialist governments, and then they spend way too much money, and then of course they plummet because they don't have any more money, and people are starting to suffer. They can't pay taxes to give income to the government, and then the government needs to raise taxes even more on the few people that can work. It's just a vicious cycle.
This is what I'm talking about when it comes to independence, is that when an economy collapses like one in Venezuela, where they've devalued their currency into absolutely nothing, look at the bread lines. People are around the block trying to get bread. There's no more toilet paper. There's no more beer. They're running out of food. There's complete shortages, while the government's saying, no, don't worry, our stores are full. Well, we've seen the images, we've seen the video, the stores aren't full, and this is where sound money comes in handy. And because of the manipulated fiat currency that they have there, they needed to be independent, but they weren't, because they depended on a socialist government, but they needed to be independent in order to grow their own, so they would be safe right now.
So you don't have to have the military actually give you food and water like they do in Venezuela right now during the martial law.
Yeah, exactly. It spreads out through several different topics, through several different points of reference here, where we want to make it absolutely clear that you need to be an independent individual, a human being, and not depend on government, because look at what they've done. As Jeff Berwick has mentioned several times before, the two greatest enemies to mankind are governments and central banks, and they are colluding together to bring down your independence and make you dependent on them and make you a debt slave. So keep that in mind, be aware of what's going on, and make sure that not just for yourself, but for your family, for your friends, for your co-workers, to keep them safe in the event of an economic collapse. Make sure that they know, because once they know, there's no excuse. So it's on you. It's on what you do as an individual to keep yourself safe. Like we said, this isn't about investment. This is all about insurance. Sure, you can probably do some investing in gold and make a little tiny bit of money, and same with the silver, but it's not about that. It's about making sure that you, in the long term, stay safe. And it stretches out to, food, to water, to shelter.
Yep.
Just it covers all grounds here. Just try and stay safe, and that's what we do. We're just messengers. We're not here to give you, economic investment advice. You have to invest now, and make some money. No, we aren't making any money off of this. We're just trying to bring you information that's important, crucially important for the future of mankind and their independence, because we don't want, in the long term, to see another form of Nazi government. We're already kind of seeing that, but we don't want to see something where people are completely enslaved because they weren't independent enough to grow their own, to have their own shelter, to be able to have sound money so that they can support their family. This is just a no-brainer.
It's all about educating yourself and then protecting yourself from your education that you've done and from the research that you've been able to do. It's so important, guys. And again, our future is at stake here if we don't start to learn and educate and teach other people this message.
Exactly.
We're going to be very screwed because the government has other plans for us.
Yeah, just heed the warning, folks. Thank you, John. A lot more great information coming at you at World Alternative Media. Stay tuned to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're on Instagram. We don't really do much on there, but just check it out anyway. And stay tuned at worldalternativemedia.com as well. A lot more coming at you. This is Josh Sigurdsson, John Snyson, signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.